Councillor Nunziata.
Okay, just talking about the maps. I'm going to talk about the maps a bit. So the maps were identified as being incorrect, and we pointed that out to staff before the third meeting, and that they had the wrong sites on it. So the maps should have been corrected by now, and they were never corrected, even though we pointed it out. The councillors pointed it out, and the community pointed it out. So why did we never correct those maps?
So with all due respect, I want to suggest that the way the meetings unfolded, it wasn't actually to the third meeting that staff were actually able to get through the entire package of information, given the reaction from staff. And I think that speaks to the format of the meetings, but there was not a dialogue, I would say a constructive dialogue that would have allowed us to have that kind of discussion.
The second meeting, the staff did complete their full presentation. You can ask Costanza, she was there. They was completed. Absolutely was completed. We waited to the very end. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Councillor McMahon. I don't need that. So nobody knows the community better than people that are living in the community, right? So why not use the community as a tool to help inform in the creation of a new shelter? Wouldn't it benefit the staff and the city that if we worked with the community before we bring forward a proposal on a shelter and on a site? That would help the process, would it not?
So through the chair, let me be the first to say, and I think our report 16 starts to address this, that we're very open to trying to improve the process so we can have that dialogue early on. There is an inherent conflict or a challenge in the municipal shelter bylaw. We've been directed by council to find shelter locations across the city because council has decided in its wisdom as far back as 2003 that shelters are as of right in any part of the city. Then of course we want to find a site that's suitable. But the bylaw, the way it's written, it describes how far away we notify people. It talks about that we would have an information meeting. Anything else we would create, we need to actually build a process. And let me be the first to say that I believe that we should be working on a more robust process. And one of the reasons we need to do that is because over the last few years, we're starting now to go into parts of the city that have not had shelters. And I think, the number of councillors have said we're going to end up having a shelter in every ward. I'm not sure we'll have one in every ward, but certainly in many areas that we've never had a shelter before. And we have to find a way to have a constructive conversation in those areas.
Right. So, but if you do that from the beginning with the community members, then when you have these meetings, you would have the correct information because the information would be coming from the councillor and from the community. So you wouldn't have wrong information to the community because the information you're providing to them is the truth. So wouldn't that be beneficial to you if you did that before rather than after?
Through the chair, it would be beneficial, and that's the optimal approach, to work with the councillor and come up with the correct information up front.
So at the community meetings, there were alternate sites that were being proposed by community members. Yes. Can I ask if the staff have gone and looked at those other sites within that community that were available? Did you? And if not, why not?
So I'll be fine.
So through the chair, we are constantly looking at sites, and we've actually, whenever a councillor is expressed an interest or identified a site for us, we work with city real estate to look at it. What I would caution, though, is often what we get is a reaction to a proposal that's being put forward, which is a good site, and I do believe this is actually a good site for a shelter, that alternative sites get put up as the answer for not having a shelter there. So in the context of an answer in terms of not having a shelter there, that's not a reason to look at another site, but we're always open to looking at other sites. We have 5 more sites that we need to identify over the next year or so per council's direction.
But one of the sites was just down the street. So it's still in the same community, it's just down the street. So wouldn't that have not been appropriate?
So as I said, we're willing to look at any site, and as they become, we work with city real estate. That just because a site is there doesn't mean it's necessarily economic or that the building is suitable.